So that is the meeting proper. We will have to adjourn after the new member stuff, but we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do for anybody who hasn't yet met me, my name is Justin Bainter. I am the band director here at Limestone. To my left, dealing
with my child.
is our assistant director, Steve Zuko. Any questions that you may have, you can direct to either of us on equal footing, and we'll make sure that they get to the right people. If you don't remember any other names, Mr. Bainter and Mr. Zuko, you have to buy a vowel for her name. I think I spelled it right in some of this literature. Hopefully. Okay? The first thing I want to say is that traditionally this has been a marching band meeting, and you will hear a lot of information about marching band in this meeting for no other reason than that is what the most pressing financial and logistical issue is going to be. But our course offerings go beyond marching band. We have symphonic band that meets in the first semester, which is a non-marching performing ensemble. We also have music appreciation that is available to our freshmen. So if you're here and you're just like, hey, I'm not doing marching band, do I need to be here? Yeah, you might want to stay because some of the Disney stuff especially is going to be pertinent, and you may run into issues with payment that charms and other things will deal with. But you will hear a lot about marching band in this specific meeting. With that being said, the goal is to get you as much information and resources as you can to feel comfortable moving into the next year. As any of the current student families can tell you, you come in the first year not knowing much, and by the end of the year you know everything, and it is a big information dump. From how we deal with finances, to what the finances actually are, to boosters, to hauling stuff, to band building stuff, band mom doing band camp stuff, what your kid is responsible for. It's a lot. This is going to be as much of a highlight reel as we can to make you feel comfortable to ask the questions you need to ask moving forward. Okay? With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mary and Tiffany. If you guys want to just talk about how we do things unless you want me to do that. Okay, have you guys talk about the finances as it pertains to right now just to marching band and charms and band overall?
Okay, I'm new, just bear that in mind.
Yep.
So usually we set up a band fee at the beginning of the year, and then there's usually 2 or 3 payments.
There you go.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So this year there will be 3 payments. It's set at $200 for each student. So if you have multiple, that's fun. They get their uniform accessories. So they get undershirt, a show shirt. What do extra gloves and stuff? You might get dinged for that. Kids lose gloves all the time, like mine does. You can write us a check. We have a PayPal account. There's a Dropbox in the band room. You can send your payments in that way. You can mail them to us. We'll take them any way you want to send them to us. What else? Fundraisers. We've got lots of fundraisers. Usually about one a month? So we have food nights like a gondola and Butch's Pizza. We had a trivia night that was virtual this year. Hopefully it's going to be a real one next year.
Yes. We've done Big Perfect Pastries this last winter was the first time we did that one. We are working out the logistics for a march-a-thon that we do during band camps. So yeah, all kinds of things in the works. Obviously with Disney coming up and some other projects that we would like to kind of have that goal to work towards. We'll definitely be coming up with some different fundraisers than what we've had in the past.
And we have some where you guys give a traditional go out and sell things like pastries, or in this case the chicken dinner tickets. But then we have some, like in a normal year we would have Stompin' at the Savoy, which is the big jazz concert we do, which brings in a good amount of money. We have some community nights through restaurants. So there's a variety of different things. And the main thing is just to get your kids out and market those ones that you don't have to sell, especially because that's less work on you. But we will be designating some of those for Disney-specific fundraisers that will drop down the cost for everybody next year as well. So that's, even though it's not going directly into your child's account, it's going to help the cost for everybody.
And I've found at the bank today. They're like, oh, that's this week. We have tickets. So that was kind of fun to hear. That, thank you. So it's a pretty good experience with all that.
Where can they reach you?
Our email is treasurer@limestonebands.com, and Tiffany's is assistant treasurer. I think everything's on the website. I think it's all current, but you can find us, and we try and respond pretty quickly if we can. We all have full-time jobs too, so give us a little grace there, but we try and get back to people as soon as we can. That's good.
What's that?
I didn't know if you wanted me to go next.
I will. I want to clarify just a couple of things. First, most of our booster board and parents will communicate through our Facebook page. So if you have a general question that is non-sensitive, you can put that on Facebook, and usually they'll get back to you in a day or two. If you have something that's pressing, please use email for our booster board and especially for our directors. I know I don't generally respond, if I can help it, to texts and direct messages, especially on the weekends, and I don't get a lot of feed from my Facebook because I don't use it. So if you try to communicate through us and then you get mad that we didn't answer and you didn't do it through email, we're probably not going to get back to you. Especially with money as it pertains to money. If you contact them and CC me or Mrs. Rizzuto, you're going to get a much quicker answer than anything else.
Email is always easy for us to search and find a record of whoever asking a question. Email for me is my to-do list. If it's something important, I leave it in there and try and mark it unread so I remember to come back and get to it. But I can't do that with other messaging systems. So
one more thing, and this has come up, so I just want to put this out there. If you're a new band parent and you're saying, gosh, $200, normally our fee is $375 because of the things that we do with our marching band especially. But if you're curious, we actually spend $489 a child. So if you'd like to see where all of your money goes and why it doesn't go as far as you'd like, you're welcome. You're welcome to come up and take a look. I have a sheet for you, just in case, because we do try to provide as much meaningful experience for our students as we can for as little money as possible. Our boosters do a really good job of providing opportunity to lower costs for our students, just so you know. Okay? Moving on, we'll have band boosters. Yeah,
So like I said, I am Jennifer Jones, the president band booster. And like I said, Amy Whitsig, who's normally the vice president, couldn't be here, so I'll kind of speak on her behalf as well. But we're basically here to just kind of support the band program in general, whether it be financially, putting in some time. We've got a lot of talented parents out there, and you know, whether you can provide an hour here, several hours there, we'll take what you're willing to give us. Just as far as like helping the kids with their performances, different things. I will put in a plug for the band dads. And we are always looking for more band dads, and I shouldn't say it doesn't have to be a band dad. If you've got some moms out there that are willing to help with props, we do have to kind of obviously start months ahead as far as once Mr. Bader gets the concept of the show and kind of starts relaying that to the group, then we can start with some different projects and kind of working on designing the different props and things to go along with the show, the construction. We're always looking for help as far as hauling the trailers. We've got a uniform trailer, instrument trailer. Is the only two, I think, right now, which again is another project we're hoping to kind of work on in the future. So anything that you can help with that. If you want to help hand out snacks, band camp will be coming up towards the end of July, beginning of August. Uniform fittings, just different things like that we can always use more hands to help with, and kind of roll that kind of thing out. And then, like you said, just coming to the different meetings. If you're like my kids, they don't tell me anything until the last minute, if you hear anything at all. So it was just always good to be able to come to the meetings and figure out what was going on with the upcoming performances and just different activities and
couple of things with that, and this is a really key point. One of the things I get a lot from parents is, well, why didn't I know, and blah, 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 blah. There are definitely some communication things, and we work really hard to communicate with our parents, but the best way to get involved is to learn what we do. We don't just put instruments in kids' hands and play. We have people building things, people hauling things, people feeding the kids, people fundraising. All the fundraisers that your kids do have to be organized by somebody, and our parents, and especially those who choose to be on the board, we definitely take nominations, but we don't force people to be on our booster board. Those people who give their time on top of their full-time job and raising their kids and everything, we're super appreciative of that, and we're always looking for new people to partake in those things. Okay? My dad professedly could not carry a tune in a bucket and had no idea what I was doing when I was in band, and was still a band booster president because he wanted to be involved. And he still has friends from those times to this day. And I'm sure if you look around, you'll see nods from the parents who are there, already there with that, friends that you plan on having for a long time through your time in band. Okay? So get involved is a huge thing.
And the best way to get involved too is just start coming to rehearsals.
Yep.
Tuesday nights when we get going in the fall, you can come, you can sit in stands and watch, you get to know some of the other parents, and you find out what needs we have. So come up for rehearsals during camp if you've got a wonderful job that allows you to be off in the summer, if you're a teacher or anything like that. We have opportunities to help out, just help get snacks and water and everything out to the kids. Again, a good opportunity to meet some of the other parents as we're coming in. So lots and lots of opportunities if you just show up.
Yeah, getting to know other parents is the best way, really. Tom, you were our last band booster president. How did you get started with us?
I started with the band dads my daughter's freshman year, and it has been phenomenal. Getting to know all these people, I've made some really close friends through it, and getting to know the kids and spend time with all of them.
Great thing to be a part of, and we're glad to have every parent that puts in their time. With that being said, there is a time and talent survey, I think, in this next section we're going to talk about. I'm going to let Jill Janke talk about forms.
So my name is Jill Janke. I am the band secretary, going on my third term, which should only be 2. So, like I said, if people are willing to join the booster board, that's great.
She gets paid triple.
3 times 0. But it really is enjoyable. But I'm going to talk a little bit about our forms. So forms are all online. We started that last year. Makes my life a little easier. I think everybody's life a little easier when you're not trying to keep track of papers. So there is a link on the band page to fill out those Google forms. And it is very important that we get those forms completed. And reason for that is a few different things. The first and foremost, the commitment form tells us that your student is going to be participating in marching band, because the shows are written with everybody in mind. So how many trumpets do we have? How many clarinets do we have? How is this going to work? That is all written based on who is committed to being in band. So the commitment form, as well as the $100 first fee, is due June 1st this year. So you have some time to kind of go on there, get those forms filled out, and then get the fees paid. It also gives us permission to work with your student, gives us contact information, so if there's anything going on during band camp, we can get a hold of you. There are medical forms so that we can take care of your kids while they're kind of in our care at band camp. Again, giving us permission, just kind of basic. So do they need a Tylenol? Do they need an ibuprofen? Can we give them kind of that basic stuff, and how do you want us to contact you? And then it gives us information about you, which is what Mr. Banker was talking about with the time and talent survey. We want to know kind of what your strengths are, how can you help us out maybe. There's so many different ways to volunteer. They pretty much covered it, but there's uniforms, there's snacks, there's band camp, there's instruments, hauling, there's props, so many things to help out with. And a little more about Danielle is going to talk a little bit more about uniforms. Danielle Harris is our uniform mom. So she will be talking a little bit more about that, but if you're interested in helping out, we can always use people there. And if you ever need anything from me, my email is secretary@limestonebands.com. So let me know if you have questions. In general, I can usually get you to the right person if it's not something that I can answer. So, any question about forms?
The forms are really important, just from the standpoint of taking care of your kids. It does happen very infrequently, but if somebody were to get very ill or break a bone or something like that, while we're in Bloomington at ISU or Indianapolis for BOA, it's definitely something that we want to have on file so that we can take care of your student effectively. With that being said, the meat and potatoes of what Mr. Zucco and I deal with is students and leading the students through the educational and competitive activities that we provide here. Like I said, most of what we talk about in this meeting is marching band related because it does have the largest time commitment of any of the course offerings, but a lot of these things will apply, not date specific, to other performing ensembles like symphonic band and wind ensemble. Okay. First, for marching band, let's just talk about schedule real quick. We do start rehearsals in the summer. This year, our pre-band camp is going to be, let's see, you have that in front of you, I think. Marching band calendar, there we are. Summer rehearsals begin the Tuesday after July 4th. So July 6th, those are 9 to 11, it's 2-hour rehearsals. And those are, all of these rehearsals are mandatory. When we get out to pre-band camp and band camp, we are pretty rigid about having everybody there because that's where we do the bulk of our stuff. The summer rehearsals, like these Tuesday and Thursday rehearsals, are a little less rigid. So if you have family vacations that are already planned, or if you have a family emergency, what have you, those kinds of things we can work around. The only thing that we do ask is that you do email us with those because we do keep attendance records through the summer as a part of the grade for the class. So we do need to know if somebody is supposed to be there, if they're not going to be there, so we can get that accounted for. But we always try to accommodate, especially on these first batch of rehearsals in the summer. Pre-band camp is going to be July 19th through the 23rd. It's a full week. It is 8 to noon. Okay? Those 4-hour rehearsals are generally geared at getting students marching. Almost every student who comes in has done what they need to do to be a part of marching band. They've just never done it all at the same time. So instrumentalists have played their instrument. Color guard has walked or danced in some way, shape, or form, but they've never had to spin a rifle while walking, or they've never had to walk while playing. That's when we generally teach all of that stuff. So pre-band camp is really, really important, especially for new students because we are very detailed in how we teach those things. Band camp is as non-negotiable as we can possibly be. Obviously, if somebody breaks an arm and can't be at rehearsal, we're not going to say, no, don't go to the hospital, come here. But short of an emergency, we really need all hands on deck for band camp. We hire staff during pre-band camp and band camp to be there to teach the students, and we go really deep dive into things like visual, movement, marching, and we learn the show at that time. So any time lost during band camp is time we really can't get back because we have a captive audience to learn the show. And it's really important that we do that. That's our competitive season. That's our football halftime. That's what we're going to be working on for the rest of the year. We really need everybody at band camp. Okay? We do have a couple of weeks of downtime because of how the calendar year fell, so we do have some in-between rehearsals that are at night, and then we begin Tuesday night rehearsals. In the past, we've done Tuesday and Thursday until the show has been learned. I don't know that we get a lot out of those rehearsals, so we're going to Tuesday nights only for the full ensemble, and those begin once school starts. Those are 6 to 9 p.m., and that's again all hands on deck. Work is never an excuse to miss one of those rehearsals, but we do have things that creep up like homecoming week. We have people who are on student council that have to miss or have to amend their participation in the rehearsal. We do allow things like that, but you can't just not show up to a Tuesday night. It counts as the grade for the week.
We do also work with students who are involved in other sports. We have a lot of kids who play soccer, tennis, other fall sports going on. That is absolutely excused. We just ask that students communicate with us I have a game this night, I'm going to try and be there by this time. So as long as we have good communication, that is never an issue.
The biggest one during marching band season is soccer, it seems like. So if you have an issue that is school related, like I said, work is not an excuse. But if you have a school related activity that has a rehearsal that is conflicting, we'll usually give on rehearsals to get you for the competitions. That's where we really need you. We'll talk about competitions here in a minute. Okay? Any question on the time commitment so far for marching band? Yeah. The regular band camp is the 26th through the 30th. Yep, they go back to back. Pre-band camp, weekend off, which you'll see is not really off in a second with uniforms, and then band camp. Okay? Yes, all of that, just so you know, we have a really fabulous webmaster that puts all of this stuff up on the website and reminds me frequently that it is up on the website. So limestonebands.com, you can find almost every bit of information that we're talking about, including booster web email addresses, scheduling, the Disney information is up there, all of that, limestonebands.com.
And band camp is like 8 to noon and then like 1 to 4 or something.
Correct. And band camp is full days. I apologize for not telling you the hours. I just got excited about band camp.
The students do lunch on their own, though.
Yeah. So on a typical band camp day, we will run from 8 to noon, like a pre-band camp day, and then we'll give an hour for lunch. They come back from 1 to
30.
4:30. Yes, that's right. 4:30. I can't read. Don't judge me. Okay. All right. The last component is competitions, football games, performances in general. For performance type classes, these are our tests. So if a student can't be there due to an emergency, we actually have to find a makeup assignment that is nothing like marching a marching band show with a group of 99 other people in front of a crowd. It's like playing your marching band show for me in an office. It's not fun for the student, okay? But it is a test, and we do have to take that grade. So, with that being said, again, work is never an excuse. Family vacations are not an excuse. We have to have all hands on deck for those shows, because for our football games, that is our sports community at large watching us. And I know from a band standpoint, like, we're not entertainment for the football team, but we kind of are, and our school community does watch that. So it would be inappropriate for us to field half of a band just because kids didn't feel like it. For our competition days, those are paid competitions where the school fits the bill for the fee, for the transportation. We are in full uniform and we are on display in front of at least other Middle Illini schools, if not other state schools, when we go to places like Downers Grove and ISU, and then nationally when we go to places like VOA, which we're not doing this year for a variety of reasons. If you want to know, you can come talk to me. But when we go to Indianapolis, that is nationwide, Oklahoma, California, Texas bands that are really, really good, and they're watching us. We have to field a full band. We have to make sure everybody is there. We have to make sure that we're on our A game. So participation is required. One of the big things that's different for our class than other classes is that in math, if you take a test and you vomit, it doesn't affect anybody else. But if we have 5 bass drums and one of them is missing, that affects the other 4. We have to have participation in those. Okay? There is on the marching band calendar sheet, if you didn't get one, there's one right outside the doors when you leave. That calendar page has everything. The football schedule for next year is up but tentative, so I did not put those dates on there, but you can see our competitions. We are going to Washington, Morton, Metamora, Dunlap, and ISU this year, with homecoming being on October 1st. So we have at least 6 performances already in the books, and I believe there are 4 other football games scheduled. So lots of performance time there for those kids. Questions so far? Okay. Other script. The big thing with performances for those who have never done a marching band performance, It does require some time. We get into uniform, we do a full band warm-up in sections in some cases. It does take a fair amount of time. If you've never been to a competition, in some cases they take 4 or 5 hours. In some cases they take like a full day from like 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m., which is what we're hoping for ISU. That means we did good. Okay, so you have to gear up. If you have some parents, know some parents that are have families that are in band, you're going to want to know what's going on there. With uniforms and stuff like that, and Danielle's going to go more into it, we have a lot of particulars with that. I know I pointed this way, and that's not right. We have a lot of particulars with that, so I'm going to let her jump right into it. I'm excited.
I know, well, it's been a whole year since we've seen them. Oh, did you? My name's Danielle Harris. This is my 6th year with the program. I am your uniform coordinator. And how I fell into the program was the previous uniform coordinator, Jeannie, one day saw me at a rehearsal and said, "You look bored, come on." And then she said, "I'm going to retire, here you go." So that's how it started. Uniforms are probably one of the funnest things for the students because that is just like a sports uniform. It is their pride. It displays our school. We have, how many kids do we have now?
About 100.
100 kids. I think 129 has been our largest so far. Our uniforms are actually only about 3 years old, and we have competition uniforms, and so I guess this is the last one. So uniform fittings is probably going to be the first thing for our incoming freshmen that we really need to pay attention to. Uniform fittings, I think, are listed in.
They are on the
I took a sheet in the packet.
yeah, I think there's a uniform sheet. It is the July 24th and 25th. That is the weekend in between pre-band camp and band camp.
So uniform fittings, usually what we'll always do, we'll always put our seniors first. It'll be your seniors, your juniors, and your sophomore will all be on that Saturday. Just because we're not exactly sure what the regulations are going to be, what we plan to do is a sign-up. So we'll send out a Google form here, probably later in the summer, and that way it'll give your student time to sign up when it works for you guys as families. Uniform fittings can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. It just depends on if we get the right fit, trying to order things and how busy we can get during when we do uniform. What we need for the students to wear during uniform fittings is what we call the under uniform, and that is solid black. So it is a solid black t-shirt and it is a crew neck shirt. We provide 2 t-shirts which you'll get actually at the first competition. So your student can wear just a regular fitted, so it needs to be a slim fit, tight fit, black shirt. It would just be for uniform fitting, pretty much any t-shirt that you have. The pants are the biggest thing. The bibbers, or what we call the pants for the uniform, are slim fitted, so they're very fitted to the student's body. What we prefer, or what we ask that the students wear, are like leggings, tights, biker shorts, anything along those lines. It does not, or the bibbers do not allow for pockets in the pants. So we need to make sure that what they're wearing is tight, slim fitting, because otherwise when the bibbers come down, you get a bulge right here, and that's the first thing you'll see when you're sitting in the stands is the bulges or the creases in the student uniform. We provide like I said, the undershirt. You will purchase the pants for underneath the student's uniform. I would prefer or suggest that you actually have more than one pair. Sometimes you'll have a game on Friday and a competition on Saturday, so there's no time to wash, and the uniforms really pick up some lovely odors over the season.
if you were like I was in band and then you forgot to get them washed, then you're also wearing them the next weekend. You want extras.
Yeah, so, the only other thing that everybody needs to stock up on are the socks that you're gonna wear, which are, true socks. Solid black, even the heel needs to be black, because when you're marching and you go up on your toe a lot, your heel sometimes will come forward, and if you've got like the gold toe, or the heel, or the gray heels, that's the only thing you'll see on the shoes. No light ever to be seen on the sock or the shirt, because that's the first thing that I'm going to notice when they're walking out, or Justin will notice, Mr. Baker will notice when they're walking out. And if your student chooses not to wear the under uniform that they're required to wear, they won't mark.
I have sent a kid back for wearing purple instead of black socks. And they will get a 0 for a test because they're in uniform.
So it's pretty much just like a grade. This is their responsibility. This is the things that they need to be responsible, and it teaches them how to be accountable for the things that, are assigned to them. So what they actually get assigned is they'll get assigned the bibber pants, which is just a black, almost like a jumpsuit. They'll have the uniform coat. They'll have the shako, which is a hat. They'll have a plume, which is actually handed out by a band booster. So the plumes actually are never to be touched by the students, pretty much, because in fact they are fragile. They're just a little wire, like slot that kind of goes into the hat. And if they bend or if they mess around with them, which they have unfortunately before, they'll break pretty easy. Then they will have the gauntlets, which are,
They're like a wrist cuff that has Velcro on the ends. It ends up looking like a wing off of the edge of the forearm.
and then there's a little beautiful mirror that goes on their uniforms, which are Velcro, and they tend to get lost. So if your student freaks out because they lost a mirror, don't worry about it. We actually have plenty of marching ones because they do fall off quite often. The only other thing that, other than the uniform itself, that is not provided by the band booster are your uniform shoes. The marching band shoes we actually order if the student does not already have them from the years past at uniform fitting, so we'll have a variety of sizes. That's why it's important when they come to have the right sock on, so that way they get the right fit with the shoe. And the only other thing would be gloves. Gloves are fitted at uniform fittings as well. So you have two types of gloves. You have the full finger glove, which are what your brass players play, and then you have your open finger, which is for your winds, your sweeps, and your clarinet. Once you have an open finger glove, your requirements are a little bit different than somebody that has a closed finger. That means girls, boys, there's no nail polish, there's no rings or anything like that for students to wear. The biggest reason why we have stipulations on what they can and cannot do is because when they're on the field, the purpose is for them to look exactly the same. You don't want to see somebody with white fingernails or anything like that from the stand. The purpose is them to perform as a unit and to look cohesive and to make everybody look exactly the same.
In the realm of marching band, we believe in individual expression. As long as you look and act exactly like everyone else for the performance. Okay? So for the performances, you have to be just like everybody else, and that includes earrings, that includes hair. Girls with longer hair, we have stipulations on how they have to wear that so that we can do things before and after a show and stuff like that.
That's for girls and boys.
That is absolutely correct. Because we've had a fair number of gentlemen with longer hair who have had to adhere to the same guidelines. It doesn't make any difference to us. It makes every bit of difference to the group as a whole, especially when they're being judged.
Because I'm the color guard mom,
Mm-hmm.
do the uniform stuff for the color guards also?
So
How does that work?
the uniform color guard stuff, we have a parent who generally does the sizing for us, and we do individual measurements for the girls, and then they get a uniform that is specifically tailored to them. and that uniform is in their care during that time. It will act just like a marching band uniform. There just aren't as many parts and as many individuals to have an individual person monitoring. So they will be in charge of their own stuff. That uniform is of no charge individually. That's through the fee, so you don't pay anything extra for it, but it is individually tailored and it has its own requirements based on the uniform that's selected by the color guard designer and stuff like that. That's why we don't go too much into it because it's different year to year.
They still stay with us.
Yeah, but their uniforms still stay with the other band uniforms.
Yeah, so we take care of pretty much like if there's any alterations that need to be done with their uniform. Because even if they do get it fitted properly, sometimes they'll be too long or they may have ripped it or something. So we take care of pretty much everything we possibly can.
Yeah, like we have like one for winter this year, since our freshman year is very not normal. So
Correct.
I don't know what to expect for next year yet.
It will be similar to that because they did get measured for it, but that is a very stock uniform. It doesn't have very many moving parts or anything like that.
Yeah, it's usually all one piece.
In a lot of cases for our competitive marching show, they will have hair requirements that fit the character of the show. They'll have makeup requirements that fit the character of the show. They may have individual shoes that they need, dance shoes. And then if they're on the weapon lines especially, they'll have gloves to protect their hands from, like, you're throwing full wood rifles up in the air, you don't want to bust off a finger.
Well, that's definitely very beginning because we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. But all of that stuff is encompassed under the uniform, and they will have a bag unto themselves that will be managed by our uniform moms.
We air bears out too because those have some.
Lord.
That's probably the biggest thing. I mean, between competitions, the biggest, once the student gets the uniform assigned, they're just responsible for putting it in the bag. So once the bag is done, it comes to me and whoever else is working on the trailer in order to get them put back in order, make sure everything's in the bag, and then if it rained or if it was muddy, because that happens quite often, getting them clean to make sure somebody accidentally ripped something, which is why we ask for black underpants or if colored are, if they wear something else, because the bibbers aren't perfect. So if it rips and they're out in the middle of the field, and if they have something black, you're not gonna notice. I mean, we've had it, unfortunately, one time somebody accidentally ripped it during a rehearsal trying to do a color guard move in a band uniform, and it didn't work.
And as we all know as adults, whenever pants rip, it's always in the least opportune place.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why we ask for everything to be a certain way, because if that should happen during the show, nobody deserves to be embarrassed because of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll field that one. So because we are who we are and we have to do what we do, there are no changing rooms. So we end up having to change on the bus frequently. If we have time to change in a conspicuous way, like we don't have to spend a lot of time on a bus and then get there and then wait, we may change beforehand, but that's very infrequent. So it is recommended that the undershirt, the black undershirt, and the shorts are worn at all times in case we have to change on the bus. For color guard, we will always have an opportunity for you to be somewhere individual so that that is not an issue. We won't, my biggest thing is I don't want high school kids in their underwear on a bus. You laugh, I hear about it still, even though we have all of these provisions in place that we've put together the last 3 years. So I'm not mad at you for laughing, but it still does happen, and it puts me in a very awkward position when some young girl comes to me and says, so-and-so is changing, and they're just in their boxers. That's a problem for me. So again, it's not frivolous the reason we have all of these guidelines in place.
Yeah, we do the best that we can with the space that we have.
Mhm.
Sometimes the space might only be, this row right here where we're shoving 120 kids in. So we try to make sure that everybody is uniformly dressed appropriately. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, so sometimes,
I got to take a kid to the bathroom so they can go change. Which is what I went to school for. Questions on uniforms? Anything else? Okay. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who spoke from Booster Board and chair people. The biggest thing here is we've given you a bunch of information tonight. Some of it is soaked in, some of it's on the paper. You'll go back and look. If you have any questions, Limestonebands.com, you can find our booster officer emails and names. You can get a hold of any of them for your financial questions, fundraiser questions, anything pertaining to non-direct band activities. If you have band questions, whether it be scheduling, I need an instrument, I'm scared, what do I do? You can send Mr. Zuko or myself an email. It's jbater@limestone310.org or srizuko@limestone310.org. Rizuko has 2 Z's in it. Good luck.
RZESZUTKO.
Write it down.
It's on the website.
Yeah,
I
if you
said-
go to the website, it's there. Both the Limestone Bands website and the high school website. Just for the good of the order, any questions from anybody out there who got a bunch of information and knew they had a question but didn't get to ask it already?
And Dad, if you're interested in building props, keep on back there.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
And one final note, I did go ahead and record this. I know there's probably a lot of people who couldn't be here. We have done what we can to get the information out to incoming students especially. But I know that schedules are weird right now. It's a weird year with COVID and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and get this YouTubed and probably put it on the Facebook page and have Mr. Cordes put it on the website as well. So if you are an incoming parent especially or a current parent and you know others who couldn't be here tonight but are planning on doing this next year, please, 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 please pass this info along to them, get them on the website. It should point them towards the forms that need to be filled out, and then again, I'll have this video up that'll kind of give them an overview if they want to. They may not want to watch the whole thing because it's 41 minutes, but they can at least skip through for the highlights.
Yep, and if you have individual things, especially for me, because I did the majority of the talking of the band stuff, like you want to say, hey, you're cool, or you're an idiot, or whatever, you can come up and talk to me after. I'm good with that, and with that,
I just wanted to put in my own little final plug. I know it's very early on, but as you kind of find your niche within the band family and everything, we're always looking for, like I said, new volunteers. Officer elections come up every February. The vice president, as they're elected in, will move up the next year to be president. The assistant treasurer will move up to be the treasurer. Secretary is 2 years?
Technically a 2 year.
Technically 2 years. Jill has been kind enough to stay in her position, but I kind of skipped over her too. Jill does a lot of our communication, obviously, not just taking the meeting notes and things like that, but she just helps us in a lot of other ways too. Count signer, I can't even think of everything that you help us with. So we're grateful. But again, if you kind of find that this is something that you'd like to become more involved in, keep us in mind. Like I said, February we will be doing elections again. Steve, can we call for adjournment? All right, we got Steven here and first and second. Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to hang out here for about 10 minutes if you need anything other than that.